Well, good morning and welcome to Emerson Theological Institute at City of Light. I'm Reverend Dr. Paul Gretz, and I'm delighted that you've joined us for a brand new class that we're starting today. It's an 8-week series based on the book Principles of the Science of the Mind by Frederick Bales. Now, if you've not purchased your study guide just yet, well, today, hopefully you've received the class notes and can follow along, but I really encourage you to purchase this study guide. You can pick it up through Amazon.com, and it'll be delivered to you in just a few days, but I know that you'll love following along with the study guide and helping you with all the different notes and the readings, as well as some study questions at the end of each chapter. So let's dig into today's exciting study on the principles of the science of mind. Now, as we begin, let's just set our intention by just allowing us to just be in this moment, releasing all stress, worry, and care. And let's center our thoughts. We're going to take a deep breath, in fact, 3 deep cleansing breaths, breathing in through our nose and releasing out through our mouth, and allowing us to reset our vibrational frequency to be so in tune with the Spirit that today is speaking to you. I'm so glad you've joined in this class because you're here for a purpose. You're here for a specific reason. It's not by chance that you found this learning opportunity for spiritual enrichment. It's because the Spirit is drawing you, and your hunger to know more is attracting these wonderful experiences. So let's join together in taking some deep breaths. Breathe in with me, would you please? And release. Deep breath in and release. Nice deep breath in and release. And in this moment of silence, please set your intention for that which you desire to transpire in your life during this time that we share together. And so it is. Well, I hope you have the class notes in front of you because we're going to dig in. This is class number 1, and it starts with the introduction. There's some real great nuggets of truth here presented by the author, Frederick Bales, and we want to dig into what is science of mind. Science, of course, the real study of a logical approach and of mind, that of consciousness, awareness, that which we are. We're going to break all that down for you in this series, and we hope that you'll stay with us for the entire 8 weeks because there's so much to learn. And we want to embrace this very basic beginning knowledge that helps us set the foundation for even more of our spiritual development. Here at Emerson Theological Institute at City of Light, we're committed to education that enables people to achieve their highest and best. And this is another one of the great classes that will lay a foundation for you to moving up higher in your understanding and your awareness or awakening to the power of wisdom in your life. So as we begin, we find that the introduction, the author brings out that our circumstances are always a reflection of our inner thinking. And we must look inside ourselves for the real cause of all our sorrows and joys. We're going to discover as we go through this class time together that everything we're going through is based on the cause of what's going on in mind. And so what we want to do is acknowledge that what's going on in thought, we bumped the camera, I believe, and so we kind of moved it a little bit aside. Is that right? So anyway, everything else still good? Are we good? No, we've lost the feed? We're good. Okay, just want to make sure. We got some audio little challenges here we're trying to work through. Okay, there we go. Yes, the camera, there we go. Great, thank you. All right, so everything that's happening in our journey of our life is based on what's going on inside in our thinking. For inside ourselves are the real causes of everything we go through in life. Now, we've reached the point where we are not only able, but also required by the law, the spiritual law, the laws of nature, the very laws of our being, to take a more active part in our personal evolution than ever before, therefore, I should say, is what Thomas Troward is saying. He's a metaphysical teacher and author. He has really brought to life so many great nuggets in previous classes that we've gone through. But he's addressing this very principle as we begin this class, that we're now at a place in our lives where we're not only able, but required by these spiritual laws that we operate in and work through to take a more active part in our personal evolution. And that is that we begin to understand that there is a cause and effect to everything. And that cause begins within each and every one of us. That cause is based on thought and our thinking. So whatever you're thinking today about this experience, is it a joyful experience, a happy experience? Is it an experience where we're really seeking greater understanding? Is this an experience that's unfolding new truths for our lives? That's exactly what's then setting the cause, or is the cause, that brings about the effect of the end result that you're so desiring in your life. So just know that it's so important that we do some examination of the thoughts that are going on in our head, for the real causes of all of our joys and our sorrows are based on what's going on inside ourselves. So, knowing that, we need to take a greater responsibility or a more active part in this personal evolution. And being active by saying, wait a minute, let me look through or think through the thoughts that are going in my mind. Let me do some sort of evaluation. Let me do a little inventory and say, have I been thinking thoughts that are fully in line with the desire or the outcome that I so desire? So when we understand this, we find that the very central theme then of science of mind is that there's a power within you that can lift your life to the highest level. There is a power within you. It is a divine power. It is the presence of this infinite wisdom. It is the presence of the divine, our source of all good. And this power can change your illness to health, bring peace amid your turmoil, turn success out of every failure, and bring companionship and happiness out of loneliness. This power will respond to you. It is the very essence of our life, and it awaits the choices that we make. For you understand that as we are created beings, we are given the power of great choice to choose every day. Thus we know that the divine source, that which we call God, the power, the presence of infinite wisdom, awaits our choices, giving us the freedom to choose whatsoever we desire in our lives. This way, that relationship that we have and how it unfolds in our lives with the divine source is based on our choosing, not some manipulative outside force. It's not by God playing games with us. It's not about God saying, I predestined you to do A, B, and C. It's all about the choices that you're going to make in the journey of your life. So when we understand that there's a power within you, and it waits or responds to every choice you make. There's a beautiful passage in the Old Testament that invites us to think about this on a day-to-day basis. It asks the question, whom will you serve? Choose ye this day whom you will serve. It speaks of the power of choice within our lives. To choose, will we serve the negative? Will we serve the positive? Will we serve in the affirmative? Or will we serve each and every day from the thoughts of lack and separation? These choices are ours. And every choice we make is foundational and going to bring about an effect within the life of our day-to-day experience. So what we want to understand is that we can turn every scenario around through the power of choice by changing our thinking. And I can't emphasize how crucial this is. We've got a question coming to us from one of our students here in the classroom.
Well, when I read this about power, it was kind of eye-opening aha for me, because I don't often feel powerful. But I decided to try this is when I meditate. Because when I meditate, now I've meditated for 3 years, twice a day. And my thoughts, that monkey mind and those thoughts, and I just can't control them. And so I've had to give in to them and say, well, maybe there's a message somewhere. So this morning I said, okay, I have power. I'm going to contain these thoughts and get deeper, because I want to get deeper in my meditation.
Beautiful.
And I forgot, you just reminded me that it's a divine power. It's not me. I'm not going to control those. I tried it this morning. It didn't work very well at all. So we have to evoke divine power to help us.
So for those of you who are joining us through live streaming, Anne has brought to us this comment that she is enjoying meditation and realized that there is a power. Quite often she's felt powerless in her journey, especially around meditation, where the monkey mind, the chatter that goes on in our heads, is always trying to pull us out of that space of silence, that place of serenity and peace within. And she's learning that we can address this divine power. It's not a power of our own resource, but it is the divine power that's already within us. So it's not something that we're forcing or pushing out or we're trying to make happen, but we're in the sense of allowing this perfect peace to rise and permeate from our life. So Anne, as you continue in your times of meditation, to not fight with those thoughts that come that want to interrupt, but just let them drift by and recenter. I find sort of a mantra word to help me bring me back into the moment. And some days that mantra word is simply love or peace or grace, whatever it may be for that moment. And it just brings me back into that moment as I may be in the silence, waiting, just this deeper awareness, and then a thought comes to my mind, like, oh, did you do the laundry? Or there's something in the dryer you've got to fold, and you know how those day-to-day things can come to you, and you just kind of just go back, love, and bring me back to that centered place, not to dwell or fight, or just allow that thought to come and release and let it go. Now, in our world today, we're so accustomed to entertaining over 6,000 thoughts coming through with us, on a regular basis, just flooding through our head. Our mind is moving just so quick like this. The conscious mind is fully aware of the world around us and is addressing all the 5 senses of that which we may see and feel. And so we're being manipulated by the conscious mind, by the world around us. It's very distracting for our lives. So in our spiritual journey, what we're wanting to do is release all that by just simply not fighting or wrestling with it, but just by returning back constantly to love. And let me tell you, or whatever your mantra word, your centering space may be. Let me tell you this, after a while, your mind is going to get so accustomed to like a thought, oh, I know if I think this, I'm going to hear that mantra word that's going to bring me back. So, after a while, it's like, okay, it stops thinking and the thoughts don't go as far. And before you know it, they begin to slow down. And we begin to slow down the mind chatter. Let me tell you that something else that's really helpful is to prepare for your meditation. Certainly these breathing exercises, which help to slow the mind down and refocus, are important. And I've engaged in some that are a little bit more aggressive than what we do to open each class. Some of the breathing exercises where I'm really taking in lots of air and then pushing them out. These are great relaxation and centering tools which help us just get really in focus with the now and the moment to help us get deeper into the silence for these times of meditation. But, as you brought out so beautifully, there is a power within us. It's a divine power. It's innately there. It's not something you have to go searching for. It's not something that you have to bring from the outside in. It's already within you. And let me tell you, the secret to our spiritual journey is so much about the word just allow, just let, just release. These words that are just simply saying, just relax and let that inner goodness, let that divine source rise up from within. Let that inner wisdom just come to the surface. It's there already within you. And we don't have to force it. Let me tell you that there's some moments when you're just in the stillness and silence, maybe even you're doing something that is interactive, but you're like a nature walk. I found that to be a great way of meditation, especially for those of us who live in the world of ADD, where so much is coming at us from left and right, constantly with thoughts, and we're so accustomed to the busy chatter of the world that we live in. Sometimes just by engaging the body in some physical exercise, such as walking in the woods or a little nature walk, it helps to relax the mind and distract the mind as well. I found that in some of those moments that these are great times to just simply, I allow, and it just wants to rise up. Wisdom, insight, presence, love, the very character of the divine wants to just rise up within us. And so it's just simply about finding these ways and means of which we're allowing the power that's already present within our life to come forward within us. So what we want to understand is that often in our prayer life, we wonder why our desires are not granted. Why aren't our prayers answered? And that can be one of the big questions. I've served as a pastor for 42 years. And quite often congregants will say to me, I pray, but I'm not seeing the answer. I'm praying, believing, but my desires are not really being granted. And so they want to maybe blame God for what is actually our own mind and what it's doing. Because worthy desires are not planted within us in order to mock us, but in order that they may be fulfilled. So you may have a beautiful desire, a dream, a vision of something great unfolding for your life, something that you desire to see transpire, an opportunity coming forward for you, something that you would love to see and experience in your own life, and you're wondering, why is it not unfolding for me? Well, you have to understand that we are the barrier. It is the thoughts that we hold in mind that are blocking so much of the worthy desires of our heart and our life. Because do you understand the generosity of this world, of this universe? Do you understand how generous this universe is? That which we call God is innately generous, ever so giving. Yet we kind of think, wait a minute, I found God withholding, and I have to massage, manipulate, plead, beg, beseech. I've got to cry. I've got to do penance. I've got to, go to church faithfully. I've got to do all, well, that's true. But no, just kidding. I got to do all these things because I've got to somehow get God's attention that I might get the answer to my prayer. Let me tell you, God, the universe, divine source, is so generous, and I can't emphasize this enough, that we've got to get this in our head. That God already knows the desires of your heart before you've even asked, and has already, shall we say, prepared those desires for us. On many different levels, they're waiting for us. But there's a blockage in mind that quite often we'll say, well, I really desire this, but I'm not worthy. I really desire this, but I can't fully put my faith into action and believe it to be so. I really desire this, but I think it's too great or too large of a task. I think it's going to be too difficult to underwrite. I think it's going to be too challenging for me. These are the thoughts that are blocking the divine generosity of this universe. If you ever need an example and you don't quite understand the generosity of the universe, I invite you to just look out your window. Now, for us right here at City of Light, we're surrounded by floor-to-ceiling glass windows here in our auditorium that afford us a beautiful nature view. We find, as we look out, the universe taking care of this nature ravine. There is water supply. There is air. There is beautiful plant life flourishing. Maybe too much flourishing going on. It's just growing like crazy. There are birds, and it's been declared by the Audubon Society that this truly is a space that can be a nature reserve, a natural bird sanctuary, because there's so much already provided for us in the universe for the birds to partake of that are naturally there. berries and all kinds of sources for them to nest and places for them to breed and carry out their expansion and growth. There's all kinds of wildlife in the ravine as well, and we quite often will find deer coming through, as well as squirrels and birds and who knows what else. Some people have said there's even some snakes, and we've got just a wonderful plethora of nature at work. And the universe is taking care of all of that with such immense generosity and care. Do you think the birds are stressed and worried? Do you think the trees are frightened and scared? Do you think the creek bed is questioning and wondering whether or not there will be water flowing through it? You see, they're all just in total reliance, in total belief that all things are working together for good, and the generosity of nature is taking care of the world that we live in. Anyone here walk out into the world and say, wait a minute, there's not enough oxygen to go around? Or, the universe didn't provide enough air for me today? Plenty to breathe in and plenty to exhale out. Amy's got a question.
Just a comment. It's almost like nature and the trees and the plants and the animals are way ahead of us in a metaphysical sense or a spiritual sense, because it's just as you said, it goes on. So as far as we know, the trees don't worry about getting enough rain, but they adapt and they thrive when they, plants thrive when they can, and when it's their time to, die and decay, which enriches the soil.
Enriches the soil.
It's just amazing when you think about it, the whole ecological system. And
for those of you joining us through live streaming, if you can't hear Amy's comment, she's saying that actually she feels that nature is ahead of mankind almost, in the fact that it has a sense of just reliance and relaxing, being at ease with the very universe providing.
Meditation, just that they just be.
Just be.
Expect to find food, if
exactly.
It's a bird or an animal, whatever. And the trees just, they're just being.
And enjoying the cycle of life, shall we say, and not fretting in that cycle of life, because they know that every facet of the cycle of life contributes to the greater good. Wow. Just as a young bird leaves the nest to fly, and that bird may leave some bird manure to nurture the soil. It may transfer seeds and take seeds and transfer them around and plant. That bird provides also then food for something else in the cycle of life, in the food chain. And as it dies or decays or it contributes back to the soil, to the world itself. Trees flourishing and providing cleaning air, removing all of the carbon dioxide and creating fresh, clean air for us. They all serve a purpose. Everything is serving a purpose. Everything is working together. In fact, did you know that even trees may communicate with other trees through their roots in the ground? And how amazing that is? And they share all kinds of nutrients and things amongst each other. You see, the whole of nature is speaking to us of collaboration, of working together for good, and knowing that there is plenty, and no matter what we go through in the cycle of our life, we are contributing to the greater good in all ways. Could we not then grasp the generosity of God, and that the generosity of this universe is so eager to meet our need and to provide for the desires of our heart? So for us to then think in some way that I've got this desire, this God-given inspiration, but how silly to think that I've got this inspiration and then God's saying, well, I ain't going to provide for you. I'm not going to make a way for you. Well, that's crazy. We know that the very essence of this universe is always making a way when we in our physical realm can't see a way, but it's making a way for us. We can't always see through our physical eyes the many ways in which the divine is in operation, because the divine is operating on a different dimension than we are in this third dimension. So what we have to consciously let go of is that, wait a minute, I can't see it, but But I can know it within. And that's the key that's so important. The blocking of our worthy desires is actually against the laws of nature, because the laws of nature are wanting to produce, wanting to provide, wanting to work for you, wanting to care for you. Yet we cause the blocks to our highest and best. It is our thoughts that become energy barriers. They're blocking the divine flow. Anne has another comment.
So this is why I love energy medicine so much. And when you're a kid, you're learning these basic rules of love and nurturing and all that. And I think it was Wayne Dyer that said everybody feels like they should have had a stellar childhood. Well, I don't know one person that has. And I think over the years I discovered what I was looking for was, of course, outside of me, but also it was a connection. That word connection. And one day about a year ago, it occurred to me, wait a minute, I have a connection with God.
Yes.
God loves me.
A wonderful connection with God.
He's around me, through me, providing for me, wants my highest and best. And, the blocks come sometimes with trauma or illness or something, that's a whole different ballgame. But that whole thing opened up a whole new area for me. And it's like I'm still telling myself, you are connected. You are connected to God. And you know what? That word is a verb. You got to keep at it. You got to remind yourself all the time. It doesn't just come and stay. You have to work it.
Beautiful. Thank you for those comments. That we are connected. And Anne is expressing her great joy of discovery of her connection with God and this divine energy flowing through us. This is why it's so important we understand the work we can do in releasing blocking thoughts, blocking energy, things of fear, doubt, stress, worry, lack, separation. These are all emotions, and they come to us in so many different levels. And you may say, you know what, I didn't really think that I was that fearful. But there are a lot of things that rise up in our thought process during the course of the day that we're expressing some sort of doubt and question and wonder, is it really going to happen? Could this be, or a thought that maybe something fearful is about to transpire within our life. And we begin to take some inventory. Wait a minute, how many fear-based thoughts have I had? And I'm considering myself not a fear-based person, but how many want to creep into our day-to-day journey? How many thoughts of lack have I had where I'm thinking, I just don't know if we're going to have enough of this and that, and I consider myself a person of prosperity. But you see how these things want to creep into us that cause a block to the generosity of God that wants to and is prepared to and is waiting to respond. This is why it's so important that we understand that we need to take a responsibility and that we need to be a little bit more aggressive, shall we say, that we're working with the divine presence that is generous and allowing this divine presence to unfold amazing things for us. So let's uncover some of the laws around answered prayer so that our desires are fulfilled by following these laws. And over the course of the next 8 weeks, we're going to talk even more about these spiritual laws and how that they work within our hearts and our lives. And once we have a greater understanding, a greater depth, we're going to find that we find some of the keys to allowing this divine energy to flow through us freely. You know what? We've created the dams where there's a divine flow and it hits a wall, it hits a barrier. And that can be our own thoughts that we're holding in consciousness. And we want to release them. And I want to start with this one that the author brings out that is so key. First, let us all acknowledge there is no favoritism in the universe. Now, we may find that some people want to say, well, aren't there certain people who are more favored of God? Aren't there people who are called God's chosen? Aren't there people who are better than others or more blessed than others? We see that they've got more blessing. We somehow got the idea then from this that there is favoritism in the universe. Let me tell you this. If it works for one, it works for all. There is no favoritism. The scriptures unfold this truth over and over again throughout the Old Testament and New. And there's a beautiful passage in the New Testament in Romans that says there is no partiality in God. There's no Jew, no Greek. There is no male, no female. And we could go on with the comparisons as we go on. There's no gay, no straight. There's no this, no that. We can go no tall, no short. God sees everyone in this very same. For that which is God is infinite wisdom. Not a being looking down from a higher place and seeing the world and saying, okay, I see all these unique people moving around, but I look at them all the same. It is this knowing, the intelligence of the universe that responds because it already feels and senses there's no favoritism whatsoever in our world. And what happens is that those who fail have simply followed the laws of failure. Laws of failure. Laws of failure. Yes, we're talking about implementing the very spiritual laws in a negative way that bring about failure for our life. Let's just say, one very simple to illustrate this is the spiritual law of what you sow, you reap. And we could use that in a way to create failure because we're sowing questions of doubt, fear, stress, worry. And then we wonder, why is the desire of my heart not being manifested? Well, you've sown seeds that are pulling you away from that which you desire and creating the failure in your life. So what we want to understand is there is no favoritism. And when we all, or each and every one of us, put to practice the spiritual laws, and in particular the one of sowing and reaping, we will actually reap what we sow, no matter who we are. Doesn't mean that you have to be holier or better than, or this person or that person, or in a more prosperous country, or or a more spiritual location. None of that has come into play because there's no favoritism, there's no partiality. So let me tell you this. That's why it's so beautiful that we never need to be jealous of anyone else's success or their blessing. Because when we see someone else's prosperity and blessing and success in life, it simply means if it's possible for one, it's possible for me. If it's possible for that person, then it can also be possible for me as well, because there is no favoritism, there's no partiality. So we should rejoice in everyone's success and rejoice in everyone's blessings and not have this sense of jealousy or envy that comes up, because what is that echoing? It's echoing, well, they have and I don't. I'm living in lack. How come they have? How come they got it and I didn't? Well, the answer is it's all because of the choices we've made in life. The choices we've made that are around our consciousness of saying, I don't deserve, I'm unworthy, it's not possible. It's all centered around our system of beliefs. So it's really important that we take a look at those systems of beliefs. What do you believe to be true for yourself? For every effect in this world, there is a corresponding cause. So there is something that is corresponding to the joy or the sadness that you're experiencing in your life. This is so true. You cannot plant tomato seeds and expect to get roses, right? Anyone ever do that? Anyone ever plant a seed and reap something totally different than what you planted? No. So there is a corresponding cause to the effect. If you're planting a tomato seed, that is the cause, and the effect is going to be corresponding to that, and that's going to be a tomato plant. So we understand that if you are projecting negative thoughts, worry, stress, fear, the corresponding effect is going to be the results of that fear and that doubt, that sense of limitation, that unworthiness. So it's really important that we've taken some time to say, wait a minute, what am I sowing in mind that I want to reap? And if I'm reaping something that I don't want, I need to go back and think, what's the corresponding cause? What have I been thinking that's been bringing about this effect in my life? Now, the outer effect will always reflect the inner. The outer effect will always reflect the inner. And the beauty is that we can change the inward and so bring a change to the outward. It's just that simple. And how beautiful this is for us to grasp and understand is the power of changing your mind will change your world. It's not just a cliched phrase. It is a powerful spiritual truth in our universe that we want to embrace. Now, Jesus spoke of it. He spoke of it thousands of years ago, teaching us that if you want to enter into the kingdom of heaven, kingdom of heaven, what is that? The kingdom of heaven is the realm of God. You really want to go deep into the presence of God. You really want to go deep into infinite wisdom and understanding. And you want to reap all the joys of peace and love and harmony and unity and success and prosperity that the presence of God affords to you, or that the kingdom of heaven affords to you. How do you get there? You must be born again. To be born again is simply to change your thinking. You were thinking this way and you're now thinking this way. It is repentance, which is a 180-degree turn in thinking and in mind. It's not a 180-degree turn in tears and sorrow for being caught. It's a 180-degree turn in thinking a new thought, a new direction. You see, that is the born-again experience, where you begin to start fresh, anew. It's sort of like resetting your computer. A reset button that allows you to start all over again. You know, wouldn't it be lovely, you had an experience, you say, wow, could I just hit that reset button and just reset that experience over the last 10 minutes because I didn't like what happened the last 10 minutes? Can I just hit that reset button and just change the experience of what happened? You can. The reset button is within you. As you change your thinking, you change your consciousness about what's happening or experienced, you will change the outcome. It will happen as we change our minds. So there's been numerous illustrations of this. People have had a bad experience. Let's just use an example of a married couple. Suddenly they got into a fight and an argument. And the husband said some horrible things to the wife that he regrets. And the wife did some things to the husband that she regrets. And they would like to say, if I could only push the reset button and go back and change that. How do you do that? How do you reset? You're born again. You start all over. You change your mind and your thinking. So it begins by thinking, well, I was so angry at my husband for X, Y, and Z. And he's an idiot because of it. How about I change my mind and my thinking? That I'm blessed to have him in my life and I love him dearly. And that we all make mistakes and even I make mistakes. And so I change my thinking about who he is and how he is. And it changes my energy level and my approach to him. Changes the dynamics instantly. Now let's say the husband does the same and he says, I wish I hadn't said those things to my wife. I wish I could take them all back, but I now change my thinking about her. I release my anger and resentment and all this kind of stuff because I know that she is truly a divine inspiration in my life. I love her deeply and I want to live out that love, so I change my thinking. And when the two come together, this experience now is transformed and changed from a moment of great tension. But now, because there's been a change in consciousness, they're reacting in a new energy that heals, that transforms the experience of what they had previously and brings about an awareness to say, you know what, we've learned something as a couple, as we both have blown up in anger in this fight. We've learned something, that we value each other in greater ways. And when we change our thinking about the scenario, the circumstance, or whatever we're angry about, we find that love just rises up and it heals, brings about a transformation in any relationship. You have a reset button for every scenario, every circumstance. It may be headed this way, but you can turn it to this way. You can change that scenario by changing your thinking. How do you think about a particular person? And if you change your thoughts about that person, your relationship with that person will change. It's totally up to you, because there is always a corresponding cause to whatever effect you're experiencing in your life. Now, our challenge is, in this outer world, it's so noisy. And you know what? We can easily be influenced by all the racial chatter. And I mean race consciousness, not necessarily black and white. I'm talking about societal consciousness. We're part of a race of people. We're part of a community of people. There's all kinds of stuff that's going on in our world. And right now, I have to say our world is extremely noisy. And those who are influenced by the sensational are often going to think the worst is inevitable. And we have a lot of people who are very susceptible to being influenced by the sensational that's going on. Some people will find, I just can't watch the news because I'm influenced by the sensational that's going on. I would say that it's not good for you, then please don't view the news. But also there are others who can say, I can view the news and it really gives me my prayer list for the day. I watch the news and I know what I'm going to hold in mind. And I know what I'm going to hold in consciousness. That the good is unfolding, the better, the peace is happening, that the joy is unfolding. And I begin to hold this in mind rather than allowing the sensationalism of this world to come in and be noisy that takes over our thought process. There is a silent power within each and every one of us, and it's this power of believing. That's the power. When we embrace that this I believe to be true, okay? And you hold on to that power of believing, it silences everything else. It silences everything else. Because we know that everything we're going through, there is a reason for it. And that reason can also be for our highest and best. Even though what we see transpiring, we may judge and condemn and say it's terrible, it's horrible. But we're going through all these things for a purpose. So let us hold on to the believing that everything we're going through has a purpose. And I believe the purpose is for my good. I can't tell you how many times I've gone through experiences in life which I thought were very challenging. I found them to be very difficult to go through. But only to look back and find out maybe those were some of my greatest learning experiences. And those are some great gifts that came to my life that helped me really invest in the power of faith and the power of believing. Because if we believe, the spiritual thought power, the spiritual power within us is an actual current of energy as real as an electric current that could jolt you, and that it's the most tremendous force in the universe, well then our thought can create an impact on the world. As we choose power thoughts of good, of love and compassion, we're going to impact this world around us. And let me tell you this, I invite people of awareness, of a higher consciousness to join together right now and hold in mind and in spiritual thought power right now that the energy we're radiating is an energy that has impact upon our world for good. That world peace is coming, that prosperity is coming, that health and wholeness is here for us, that we're seeing and learning through the experiences of everything we're going through for how do we achieve our highest and best. We're learning it as we're going through this experience. We want to hold this in mind, not holding fear, not holding sensationalism, not holding doubt, not holding lack. But holding in mind, the power within is holding and sees, holds in mind and thought and believing that the goodness of God is in operation right here and now. And it is unfolding right now for the highest and best of our world and for one another. So let's get some terms and essentials down as we move through this class study. One of the new thought terms for prayer that people may not always be familiar with or may sound new is the word treatment. Now, that may sound strange for some people, like, Pastor, would you pray for me? And someone saying, Pastor, would you treat for me? And some people go, what's treatment all about? Well, we treat for results rather than pray for them in the old manner of pleading and begging. So what we're doing is we're treating what? Doubt, fear, questioning. We're treating to remove it for the results to be allowed to be unfolding, rather than pleading, begging, beating our chest, crying out, asking, all this stuff that so many people have done in prayer as if they're trying to get God's attention. A treatment is a definite movement of mind. We're going to pray with someone, and we're going to facilitate a movement in mind, a change of thinking, a change of perspective. It's a movement of mind in a different direction. It's believing and expressing the cause that brings about the effect. So what are we doing in prayer treatment? Well, someone came to me just the other day and said, I'm terrified, I'm scared, I'm losing my job. I'm afraid I'm going to be laid off. I'm frightened. I hear the buzz across the company that there's going to be major layoffs, and I'm going to be one of them. I'm going to lose my revenue. I'll lose my income. I don't know how I'll make it in existence. I don't know how I can do all these things. Stop. Let's treat. Treat. What's treatment? It's prayer. Let's go into prayer. Let's treat all this stress and worry, these thoughts that are the cause, that are bringing about an effect that you may lose your job. Because you are all focused on, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to be laid off, I won't have any income, I don't know how I'm going to make it. And we want to treat that monkey chatter that's going on, that monkey mind. We're going to say, join with me in prayer. And we're going to speak the truth of God for you. And I invite you to agree with me as I offer a prayer treatment. Come into 100% agreement in mind as I begin to paint the picture for you of the answer that's already there for you. So what happens is we then facilitate this. I know to be true, the power of God is infinite and mighty. Yes, I agree, right? That in God, all things are possible. Yes, I agree. And that God knows the answer before we even ask. Well, yes, I agree. So in these statements, we're helping people to awaken, to move from fear into a sense of awakening to their real possibility. And as a question or a comment.
You really have to press your own reset button first before you can press somebody else's or help them press their own reset button.
Great comment, because quite often as we go to prayer treatment for someone, if we're not believing it ourselves first and foremost, it's very difficult to speak the words of truth for someone else. So it is really powerful that as you prepare to go to offer prayer for someone, to do a treatment, that first you've gone within your own self, removing any blockage or any fears or doubts or worry, helping yourself to really come to this sense of affirmative knowing. And how do we get there the best? Well, the first step in prayer treatment is recognition, and we can't emphasize this enough. When we recognize who, what, how, where God is, wow, in that recognition, to me, that's just a calming presence. When I begin to recognize the generosity of the universe, I'm like, well, why am I worried about this? If the universe is so generous and eager to bless, then why am I worried about this? You see, recognition just begins to bring that wonderful calming, soothing presence to us. The more we spend time in words of recognition with one another in prayer treatment, it sets the soothing salve, shall we say, into the hearts and lives of people. So sometimes that first step of prayer treatment is where we're acknowledging, recognizing the power and presence of God in our world, and we're speaking. I know this. I know this to be true. I believe this. This is what I believe. And when we're speaking that for one another, and we come into agreement and we're hearing these words, and these are some beautiful Bible passages I think are so affirming for our lives. as we trust in the Lord with all of our heart and lean not unto our own understanding, God will direct our paths. That's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And we know this to be true. Then we just say, you know what? You're right. Why am I worried and leaning in my own understanding when I can simply trust God? And God's promise is to direct me through that no matter what I'm going. You see, spending time in recognition of recognizing and knowing and being so comfortable with the divine presence of God is so important. This is key and crucial in prayer treatment, because from there it just opens the gateway to be so centered, to be unified, to be one with this perfect peace, that your prayer becomes now a declaration. Your prayer becomes now a true recognition of what you already know to be true. Well, I'm praying for this job, and I'm treating for this person who's frightened that they're going to lose their job, and suddenly we've changed everything. And from thinking this way, we've had a born-again experience. We're thinking this way. We've had a change in mind, and suddenly he was saying, wow, I feel a perfect peace, that no matter what transpires, it's for my highest and best. And it must mean if I'm to lose this job, something better's there, or if I'm not losing this job, that this was just worry, gossip that I was entertaining, and how foolish of me, and I release it all and I don't entertain it now. And you know what? A few days later, he found out he got a promotion instead of losing his job, that the company was restructuring for greater success and moving in an upward direction, not in a downward direction. You see, when we release the power of believing in the affirmative, we plant a seed of cause that's going to bring about a different effect. So in that case, instead of planting seeds of worry and fear, instead we planted seeds of positive affirmation of knowing and perfect peace. And the end result was perfect peace. So what we understand is that know that you do not create this power, and Anne brought this out so beautifully earlier, that it's not a power she creates within her life, but that this is merely laying hold of that invisible power that has already existed within us. When we use the word power or infinite healing presence, what we're really talking about is this wisdom of the ages, this infinite knowing, this intelligence of the universe that has been from the very beginning of time. It has always been there for us. And it's that wisdom of the ages that brought the world into being. And that wisdom is the super intelligence in and through the universe and in each and every one of us. That's right. You were not created without an ability to awaken this intelligence, this giftedness within you. It's there. All you have to do is simply allow. And to allow is to make a choice, to choose, to allow it to rise up and to release and let go all barriers of fear and stress and thought and worry and all this kind of stuff that clogs up this infinite wisdom that wants to rise up from within you. Because remember, you're created in the image and likeness of God. The image and likeness of God does not mean that you have God's nose and, that dimples were God's and, that hair color is God's. No. The image and likeness, the very likeness is the character. So in the character of God is infinite wisdom. And you were created in that character. When you understand that, you're like, wow, there's infinite wisdom within me. I want you to know you're a lot smarter than you allow yourself to be. It's we who hinder the unfolding of infinite wisdom in our lives because we're saying, I'm afraid I can't. It's not true. I'm not stupid. I'm too stupid. I can't get this. Instead, when we just relax and allow infinite wisdom to rise up within us, it's there. It's there. So for this class, here's some things that we must do. As we're preparing for this wonderful journey, first of all, I'm asking you to be open-minded. Okay? I'm asking you to be open-minded to all things. Now, for me, I came from a very fundamentalist biblical background of biblical literalism that was not very open-minded at all. So the idea of being open-minded to things, for me personally years ago, was quite a challenge. Because I was taught rather to sort of close in the mind. You only read or study or learn things that are within the conservative biblical literalisms of your my previous denomination. So for me to explore other things, it was like, whoa, that sounds very scary. And of course, they threatened you with saying, if you read things that are outside of the line of this denomination, the devil will get you. If you are, of all things, don't go into that class of meditation and yoga because they want you to empty your mind, and an empty mind is the devil's playground. Okay, all kinds of thoughts will come into your mind because you've emptied it out. You got to fill it with God, 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 Jesus, Jesus, Lord, person, all kinds of things. God, fill it. Like, okay. I didn't know how they could really embrace the phrase that says, be still and know. And that was part of the problem. We were so busy with the monkey mind chatter and filling our minds with all kinds of things that we were never allowed to be still and never really know. You know how it often is, I find people who are frustrated and fearful and they want to go into prayer. And they want to go to prayer, and they were just like, pray with me, everybody pray with me, right now, pray with me, everybody, come on, pray. And let's all beseech, let's don't stop praying, come on, storm the gates, beat your chest. Just like, go on, everything kind of, let's manipulate God, let's bargain with God, all this, and I'm like, hush, be still, quiet, stop talking, really. Our greatest prayer can be when we zip it and don't say anything and just be still in the sense of the Spirit of God unfolding knowledge, wisdom, knowing, be still and know. So I encourage you, be open-minded during this class time to learning some new things and exploring some new ideas. And if you've got questions, please feel free to ask, because we're here to help you on this journey and learning together. There are no bad questions, no stupid questions. Every question is a great question, and we encourage the inquiry. Now, secondly, for this class, we must acknowledge that wrong thinking has brought unfortunate circumstances. We have to acknowledge, you know what? The only reason we haven't achieved a higher level of success in our life is because we've engaged in error thinking. We have engaged in thoughts that have just, wandered away from the highest and best. There's a beautiful passage in Scripture that says, all we like sheep have gone astray. Like sheep, we've wandered off. And our thoughts have wandered off, gone astray, wandered away from true, clean, clear wisdom of divine knowledge. And so what happens is, in our error thinking, in our wandering, in our going astray, our thoughts have gone off into places where, we're manifesting or bringing about for us cause and effect that are manifesting and bringing about things that we don't want, we don't really like. So let's acknowledge that. Say, you know what? I need to realize the things that I don't care for in my life are simply a result of the way of my thoughts. And I am going out to get those thoughts and bring them back into the fold, shall we say, and get back into right thinking. So take responsibility. I am where I am because of my past thinking. And next, study to absorb the principles and allow them to go deep into your consciousness. These classes are a journey of study. They're not just throwing out information for you, but a moment that we really study to grasp. And I want you to know that, as a pastor of 42 years, I've been studying, and every time you study, sometimes I find all kinds of fresh, new revelations that take me deeper and deeper. Sometimes I think back and think, wow, I thought I knew it all, and Maybe. I don't know anything. You know? Because everything is new and there's constant discoveries of all kinds of stuff. And so you may think that you've come to a level of knowledge, but there's even more yet to be received. And next, of course, the big thing is to practice. I want you to understand this, that truth will never become our own until we apply it. So you can hear truth. You can come to classes. You can attend these classes for the next 20 years. Love to have you. But know that if we never apply what we learn, we're never practicing it. And this is what I find is so many people of spiritual understanding would say, I'm so hungry, I'm like a sponge. I want to absorb, I want to absorb, I want to absorb. I want to take in, I want this workshop, that class. I'm going to go here, I'm reading this book. I want to hear that speaker. I want to go to this teaching. I want to go here, I'm going to go there. But wait a minute. Have you stopped to practice any one of the workshops or classes or teachings or sermons or talks that you've heard and say, wait a minute, I'm just going to stop and practice and practice. How do we get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. How are we going to achieve great success in our life? Practice, practice, practice. All right, we've got a comment coming in.
Actually, I have a question.
Okay, this is from Dr. David Carter. A question.
Okay, point number 3. It says, I am where I am because of my past thinking. I get that in my own life, but how about somebody, let's say, that's born blind from birth? They're blind because of their past thinking in another life, and it's carried over. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, some situations
right.
where you think a person is born this way, so what past thinking caused that? Because there's a passage somewhere in the Bible about the man born blind from birth, and the question was asked, and Jesus said, neither this man or his parents sinned.
Right.
Explain.
There's a lot we could go into on that concept. Great comment. Thank you. But let's just take it from this perspective that what we're taking for this class moment is, I am where I am in this life because of my past thinking. So in the example of a man born blind, I am where I am with the things that I've been gifted with based on my thinking. Am I thinking, oh, I'm a victim because I'm blind. I'm just, I can't do anything. I can't accomplish anything. No matter what we've been gifted with in our experiences, whether we're tall, we're short, we're handsome, we're ugly in world's terms, or whether we're of this race or this gender or this sexual orientation or that, it's what we do with that, okay? So we are where we are because of our past thinking. And there's many people, LGBT people, who said, I was born gay, but my past thinking has always been victimhood. So you are where you are in victimhood because of that past thinking. But you can be gay and very successful. And you can achieve amazing things, and you could have great joy and happiness. It's all about your thinking. So it's not just that you're saying, oh, my limitations are I'm gay, or I'm black, or I'm a woman, or I'm short, or I'm bald, or I'm this or that. Everybody wants to use some excuse to say why they haven't achieved certain goals in life. And the only reason you haven't achieved it is because of your past thinking. Now, you may be gifted things as you came into this world for you to use as tools to work through, okay? So we have some people who've been gifted with womanhood, with the wonderful gift of being a female in this world, of being a woman. Now, what are you doing with that gift? Well, you could say, well, gee, it's really horrible, it's tough, it's really rough. I got to do this, I got to do that, I'm supposed to, I get paid less than a man does, I'm just a victim. Or you could say, hey, I'm a woman and I can do amazing things, and you know what? Maybe one day I could be, a leader of a company or corporation. We find many women who are, women who are billionaires. All kinds of possibilities are there. We find people who said, I've been born short, I can't really do anything. How many great actors, high-paid actors, are short because they're great character actors, right? How many people would say, oh, I can't do this because, I'm this or that? We stop with the excuses. The excuses are just the thoughts you hold in mind that are creating blockages to your great success. You are where you are because of your past thinking, okay? So just know that where I am in life and what you have achieved is because of that. So the great achievements you've also accomplished in your life, you're here today because of your thinking. And your thinking says, I'm a seeker of wisdom. I want to know more. And that's why you're here today. It's those thoughts that brought you to this moment. Kudos, great thoughts, because your past thinking has brought you to this moment of great revelation for your life. So give yourself an applause. You're thinking some good thoughts. You're also thinking, so before we guilt and shame ourselves too much, it's just, what are we doing? What's our thinking with what we've been given? Okay? So let's begin to change those thoughts. Practice the truth. Now, the human consciousness must be changed, get this, to a God consciousness, which carries in itself all fulfillment. Let's shift our thinking from human consciousness to God consciousness. Let me ask you this. What would that look like for you? Let's just go around the room here. What would it look like for you if you changed your thinking from human consciousness to God consciousness? Someone have a thought on that? Dr. David.
I would move from my human consciousness of saying that I can't, it's too hard, it's difficult, to knowing with God consciousness that all things are possible. There's nothing that I can't achieve through the God within me.
Beautiful. Wow. What a big shift. Can you imagine how your day changes from my human consciousness? I woke up thinking, I've got so many limitations. Time limitations, physical ability limitations, my health limitations, my wealth limitations, the things that, are around me and my circumstance. You could just be burden yourself to no end in that human consciousness. And you know what? It's going to stifle you. You're going to surround yourself with this sort of force field that wants to press in and stifle the very possibilities within you. Now, let's change all that. Let's go to God consciousness that says, I woke up this morning going, I have infinite time, and whatever I accomplish today has been done in right and perfect order with perfect ease and effortlessly. I'm not going to worry and stress that in some way I'm going to be this or that or limited. I'm now thinking from an unlimited perspective around my health and my wealth, my prosperity, my relationships with other people. All is just full of infinite possibilities. I'm just a radiant light of the divine presence. Now, there you go. That's a change to God consciousness. Thinking as God sees. I want to tell you this. The universe sees you as gorgeous, beautiful, fantastic, fabulous, fearless, amazing, intelligent, just so powerful. Now, I want you to see yourself the same way. That's so important for you to get that, because we can get so beaten down by human consciousness. But every one of you in the room and every one of you joining us through live streaming, you're fantastic and possibilities are unlimited if you allow the God consciousness to permeate your thoughts today. You're going to have this incredible, amazing day. It's there for you. So as we move forward, let's go into lesson number 1. Wow, lots of good stuff just in the introduction. So let's go into lesson number 1, your mind and how it works. He offers this wonderful illustration that the ocean is all one mass of water. Yet we would refer to the surface of the ocean and the depths of the ocean. Yet they're all one. Like the ocean, the human mind is all one, and you have 2 distinctly different types of activities that are carried on in the mind. So he likes to call it the surface mind. You may have heard us refer to it as the conscious mind, the surface mind being the conscious mind or objective mind. And it also can be called the directing mind. Ooh, hang on to that thought. The directing mind, okay? For we choose the thoughts that we want to think in the surface mind, the conscious mind. Everyone get there? All these authors throw out a different word and we think it means something, but we're all saying the same thing. We're just describing it in a different way. Conscious mind, surface mind, okay? Then there's the deeper mind. which is the subconscious mind, or the subjective mind, the unconscious mind. This is the creating or manufacturing face of mind. It takes what the surface mind gives it and turns it into thought and things. If I had a little chart, I'd like to create this little circle here. And at the top, we're gonna divide it into thirds. And the top part of this circle, we would say, is your conscious mind. Next third is your subconscious mind. And the next third is form or manifestation. So conscious mind or surface mind is the directing mind that engages in all this thought. And it plants these thoughts in seed into the subconscious mind or into the deeper mind. And it is from there that form or effect is brought forth or manifested. So we find that the deeper mind is also the habitual mind. It's the storehouse of experience. It is the most reliable agent in the world for bringing choices into form. All healing, success, prosperity is produced within the deeper mind. Okay? It's not produced in these fleeting thoughts that can come and go because we dismiss them. Those thoughts that we've entertained, we brought into the subconscious within us. These are thoughts that form beliefs, values, and how you choose to live on autopilot, that you're just moving and operating in the world through the subconscious. You know, we have a lot of subconscious responses to things in our world based on the education or the thoughts that we've received or the thoughts that we've welcomed in our mind. You know, there are a lot of people who are just, I'm afraid of dogs, they may say. Because I think I saw my neighbor get bitten, they may say, so I'm afraid every dog is going to bite me. Okay? That belief is in their head. So they're terrified when they see a dog. What do? They run in fear. When they see a dog, they're paralyzed in fear because they believe every dog is out to get them. Well, that's the habitual mind. That's where they've taken a surface mind thought and put it into the deeper mind. And now, what do they do automatically? I see a dog, fear. I'm afraid of a dog. I'm scared of a dog. I'm frightened of a dog. I know this dog's going to bite me. And what happens is, quite often, it manifests or brings about based on your reactions, your subconscious reactions of fear. So the deeper mind is obedient to the surface mind. It has no power to choose. It only obeys. So what happens is that whatever thoughts you're entertaining on the day-to-day basis are like these seeds that you're planting in. And, well, you know, because we can choose, you know, you could choose to say, oh, I had a thought that I would be afraid of a dog. And you know what? I'm going to have a thought that says, I'm not afraid of a dog. I'm not afraid of dogs because I'm going to be very loving and they're going to respond to the love that I share. So I'm changing my whole belief system. And I no longer choose from the surface level this thought, but I impart the thought that I love all dogs. Come here, puppy. That's right. I'm just crazy about dogs, and I know that dogs are there to love me. Okay? So then I shift my reaction, and what happens is there's a different outcome. Because the cause, the thought held in mind, is now producing a different outcome. Okay? So I love this illustration we find on page 7 in your textbook. If you have your textbook with you, let's just open it up to page 7 in lesson number 1. And he offers us this story of the loom. You know, years ago, I would go to see my aunt. She lived out on a farm, and she was one of these self-sufficient women who loved to create all of her own things. You know, she did her own canning, grew her own vegetables, had her own animals. They were the kind that raised the chickens and cut the heads off and plucked the chickens for dinner and, you know, do the whole process. Everything was farm to table, shall we say, in her world. Well, down in her basement, she had a weaver's loom. I was quite fascinated by it. What she would quite often do is take rags and leftover fabrics, and she would make those rag rugs. Do you ever see rag rugs? Yeah. Oh, some of those were really great items and hard to find today. but real collector items. And she would create rag rugs with this loom. And she would choose different threads or different fabrics, different pieces of rag to weave in to make a rug that could be, blue, green, and yellow. Maybe she decided one that she wanted for the front door was going to be red and navy blue and maybe a little touch of orange and purple, and she wanted some really colorful things. And for friends, she said, oh, for your baby's room, I made you a pink and yellow rug. And, she would do all kinds of creative things. The outcome of the rug depended all upon what threads she fed into the loom as she weaved. So let's take a look at this illustration, and it describes for us this. So if you'll read along with me, or does somebody else want to read? Dr. David, do you have it? You're by the camera. Could you read out loud for us? Starting at the loom that weaves thought through into thing. It's right in the middle of the page.
Okay. We all know enough about the principles of rug weaving to know that there are a loom, threads, a weaver, an overseer, and a rug. The loom has only one task, that is to keep weaving. It does not decide whether it will weave a beautiful or an ugly rug. Hour after hour, it moves back and forth while yard after yard of rug comes slowly forth at the end of the loom. The weaver watching it may be displeased and outraged by what he sees coming out, but he does not berate the loom and say, why have you done this to me? He does not sit at the other end crying over the ugly pattern, wishing it would somehow change into a thing of beauty. He knows that the only place where beauty can be made to replace ugliness is on the rack of spools at his end before the obedient weaving apparatus gets it. And so he changes the threads. He takes off a dark spool, replacing it with a brighter color. He exchanges a gaudy yellow for a mellow gold. Then he starts the machine once more, and as he watches what now comes out at the other end, he is pleased. The loom, however, doesn't care. It is impersonal. It has no choice but to weave whatever threads are given it, and it does so according to the pattern set by the weaver. The weaver is responsible for the result.
One more.
Daily, man's loom of mind weaves the pattern of his life. If he does not like the pattern, he is foolish to sit crying about it or wishing it would change. He is wrong to complain about luck or to berate providence. He and he alone is the weaver.
He and he alone is the weaver. You are the weaver. You choose the threads that you want to put in. Threads of joy and peace and happiness. I can't tell you how important it is that we slow down our life to make good choices at the beginning of every day. So let's pull from the rack of spools. Today I'm weaving a beautiful rug. A day that's filled with joy, peace, and excitement and happiness, love and contentment, prosperity. I'm going to pull this thread, that thread. Oh, not that one. Not failure, not lack. I'm not weaving that into my rug. No, I'm not going to use this one that's doubt and negativity and despair. Oh, not this one that's, condemnation of somebody else. Oh, no, I'm not touching that. I'm weaving a beautiful, colorful rug. I'm making the choice. So make your choices each and every day. Let's look at this point in our notes. You see the big wow in your notes that says there? It says the universe is fair. Life never lets us down. We let ourselves down. The universe is fair. Now, a lot of people would say, I don't think this world is very fair. I wasn't gifted with this. I wasn't gifted with that. I didn't start out a millionaire. I wasn't born to a rich family. I wasn't this or that. I didn't come from this country or that nation. I wasn't gifted with that to be 6'2". Oh, wait. What are we doing? We're making excuses, aren't we? Because the universe is very fair. We all have the power to choose. A short person can choose as much as a tall person can choose. And a wealthy family can create a child that can choose as much as a family out of poverty can have a child that can also make choices just as well. Because the universe is fair in that you, me, everyone has the power of choice. Life is a part of cause and effect. We simply fail in giving the loom the sort of materials it needs to weave the beautiful life. Now, y'all may say, well, it's not fair. Some people start out with more advantages than others. Oh, let me tell you this. They still can make some terrible choices. We know many people who come from wealthy families, and their lives are destroyed in drugs and alcohol, feeling unloved. Money doesn't make a difference. We find people who come from poverty, who made good, solid choices to come out and become, great success stories in our world, in business. We find people who've got all kinds of excuses. Remember, you have the power to choose. Life is fair. Every one of you is sitting at the loom of life with the same access to threads. Which ones will you choose? Fear, doubt, insecurity, unworthiness, a belief that you can't? Or are you going to reach for the threads of life that are going to weave for you your highest and best? Because thoughts are seeds in the creative soil of mind, and we have to ask the big question is, what are we planting every day? What thoughts are we putting in the garden of mind? What are we planting there? Now, here's an interesting addition that we want to put in that our author, Frederick Bales, drops in the middle of this first lesson, that the word law can be substituted for the word Lord in our metaphysical Bible studies or in ancient wisdom studies, scripture studies, etc. Because so many people want to say, wait a minute, I don't believe this universe is fair because God is vengeful and God wants out to punish certain people. They got the idea, got us up there in heaven, looking down and thinking, hey, I want to see that Susan suffers today. And, I want to see that George is really having a difficult time. I'm going to throw some, challenges their way. I'm going to really make their lives miserable. And we think that's God. We got so misunderstanding, a big misunderstanding of what God is, because God is not vengeful. But the impersonal law of cause and effect does produce what looks like vengeance. It does not do with an intention to punish any more than the river, which is rushing down with a drowning person, punishes. The river's not punishing the drowning person. It's the person who jumped in the river, who made that choice, who is having a difficulty swimming and drowns, but the river didn't punish them. It's the person who made that choice. All right, I think we have a question coming in. Hashirumu.
Okay, make the comment that money cannot buy happiness or respect.
That's so true. Happiness and respect, Hashi, are found within our own lives. Money can't buy it. Great comment. Thank you. So what we find is that when we look at the word law, and these are principles that are in operation in our life, a law of cause and effect, it can be interchangeable for us understanding the Lord or law. That which is sovereign over our lives is the word Lord, right? What does Lord mean? Sovereign. Something that rules over our lives, right? What rules over our lives? The laws of nature. Certainly you know that the law of gravity is ruling over your life. It's holding you in that seat right now. If we didn't have gravity right now, some of you would be floating around, hanging out in the ceiling. Or maybe have floated out into outer space. So we do know that the laws around us and that the laws are very impersonal. So we understand law and Lord being interchangeable. Does that make sense? Everybody with me there? Anyone still have a question? I don't quite get that. No, you're good? Great. The Bible says, I am the Lord, I create good and evil. From Isaiah 45:7 says, I form the light and create darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. The Lord, I the Lord, do all these things. You think, wait a minute, God then is this vengeance? God is this one that's making decisions and punishing us? Whoa. We're misinterpreting that passage completely. Because what we're saying is the law creates good and evil, light and darkness, prosperity and disaster. Because the law is up to you and how you will use it. It's going to work whether you use it or not. So let's just go back to the law of cause and effect. sowing and reaping. I can use that law to create disaster just as well as I can use that law to create success, right? Either way. But if you are sowing thoughts of fear and judgment, condemnation, worry, unworthiness, the law is going to act on those thoughts because those are the seeds that you're imparting. Okay? So the law will create for you, not out of some personal issue or judgment or feeling around you. It's impersonal. It just says, hey, you put those seeds in, this is what you're getting out. So the law is going to work that way. Or you can choose to say, I choose in a different way. I choose to sow good, love, peace, happiness, prosperity, abundance. I choose these things and I plant those seeds, and the same law is going to say, wow, those are the seeds you planted. This is what I've got to produce for you. And
so I love this story. When I was living in Pennsylvania, I got an opportunity to see Ben Carson, the famous neurosurgeon from Johns Hopkins University Hospital, speak. He and his brother and his mother only grew up in poverty, and she was illiterate, and he and his brother never knew that. They found it out years later, but because of this, probably she valued education, and so she made them do book reports every week, and they never knew till many years later she couldn't read them. She valued it, and she, planted these seeds. And both the brothers are very successful. One's a lawyer, one's a very creative and successful neurosurgeon who's done magnificent work on children. So I always think of that story. And the funny part is she couldn't read the book reports, but she made them do them anyway.
So she planted great seeds.
Yeah, she
Amen. Did. And the law of cause and effect. So she created the cause, the seed of the importance of education, brought about effect within each one of her children's lives. So this is so important we understand that it's not God that is out there looking to punish. It's the spiritual laws, the very laws of the world that we live in, that you operate in. And when you use them for your success, well, you're going to be sick. When you use them for your failure, they're going to bring about your failure. And, a lot of people think, well, I don't really care. I haven't really paid any attention to these spiritual laws or these laws of nature or the world around us. I haven't really thought about sowing and reaping, but we do it all the time. Every day we sow. And then in the course of our life, we really reap because we haven't really thought about, what did I sow? Oh, I realized I sowed a lot of things I just did not want to reap. Now, the law is the automatic bringer of man's thought into form. The key is we have the power of choice, so we want to choose every day because this law is going to bring these thoughts into form within our life. The thought is the seed, and it's going to manifest exactly what you planted. So there is an infinite wisdom within you. Can't emphasize this enough. And this wisdom, this presence, lies deep in the mental makeup of every soul born into the world. No religion has a monopoly on it. Without infinite wisdom, any religion is simply a mere system of ethics. Science of the mind is primarily a philosophy of life that fits within the framework of any and all religions. It's basically ancient wisdom, truth. Now, it's referred to as new thought, but there's nothing new about it. It's old. So ancient wisdom might be the better description rather than new thought. But new thought refers to I'm having a new thought. I was thinking this way. I'm having a born-again experience, and I'm now thinking this way. I am going into a new thought. I am now thinking in a new direction. I am changing my life. I'm experiencing a spiritual transformation. I have been born again to now see things in a whole new way. And I release all fear and doubt, and I welcome now my prosperity. So you see, the very teaching of science of mind is not attached to any religion. But so is the teaching of Jesus. was not meant to start a new religion. Jesus taught ancient wisdom. Jesus taught the very essence of this infinite knowledge that is timeless and could be applied whether you were a Jew or a Greek, male or female. It didn't matter. It could be applied anywhere. And it could be used in any religion whatsoever. You see, because it's just simply ancient wisdom that is timeless. So we find that it transcends all religions. So someone who is of the New Thought journey would say, wow, I can be New Thought in Jewish. I can be New Thought in Christian. I can be New Thought in Buddhist. I can be New Thought and Hindu. I can be New Thought in all these wonderful things because it's just the ancient truth that's lived out and found in the essence. As we pull all these spiritual pathways together, we find what is really the ancient truth for our lives. So he closes with these thoughts about what is healing. He wants us to understand that healing is the healing of false inward beliefs. The manifestation in form of this changed belief is the outer healing. So much of our dis-ease in our life, disease, is based on some inward thinking of fear, doubt, etc., that is manifesting within the body. So our healing is all about changing this inward belief that I am well, I'm whole, I'm perfect, I'm good, I'm complete. Welcoming that thought energy, which is rejuvenating, which is energizing and lifting us up. Prosperity is not primarily money. It is a deep inward state of mind out of which money grows. But prosperity is not just money. Prosperity is a consciousness that says, I am blessed. I am well. Oh, but wait a minute, your bank account is very small. Oh, but I am prosperous. I am blessed. And in that consciousness, money comes. It grows. It manifests. Now, the error of one who grasps just a little bit of this teaching, there's going to be some problems, is that they think all I've got to do is think. All I've got to do is think and it will be mine. But we have to cultivate faith. And there has to be a deeper knowing, understanding, a foundational belief. The power of believing is so important. And we're going to be exploring that over the next few weeks. We want to enhance this power, awaken this power within you. It's not just more about thinking, although that's a beginning level, but let's not stay there. Let's go deep, 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 deep within. If we don't, then we're going to be led by the challenges of the surface water, the surface thinking. We must go deep because still waters run deep. So I'm inviting you to journey with us over the next few weeks. As we continue study, we hope that you'll be able to pick up your workbook and read along with us. You can purchase this on Amazon.com. Again, the title is Basic Principles of Science of Mind by Dr. Frederick Bales. You can pick this up through Amazon.com, be sent to your home at in just a matter of days for you to read along. So we encourage you to do so because you're going to love the teaching that you're going to find in this. Along with that, please let us know if you're interested in receiving the notes, because we'll make sure that they're emailed to you to your address. And you can read along and study along with us and make comments. Now, as our tradition, we always go around and ask, what's your takeaway? What are you taking away from this time that we've shared together? What spoke to you? So for those of you joining us through live streaming, I encourage you to type in your takeaway and say, this is what I got today. This is what sticks with me. This is what resonates within my heart and life. I'd love for you to just share this with us. We greatly appreciate it. So let's go around the room and let's start over here. Brenda, can you step up? And if you come close to over here and share your takeaway, the camera will pick your voice up. Just let us know. What's your takeaway today?
I just remembered and realized again that my life is my choice.
Yes.
At one point, I went back to see if I could discover the original error, the beginning of that error, of that choice I made. And when you make a choice, then you can see the effect of it all through your life. And it had started when you were maybe a teenager.
Yeah.
But that choice you made can affect your whole life until you just have to recognize it, accept it, and then you become very calm about it.
Sometimes our work is unlearning these beliefs that we've made foundational in our youth. And we got to unlearn them. Let them go. Make some changes. Excellent. Steve, come on over here and tell us what your takeaway is. The camera will pick it up. Hopefully everyone in live streaming land can hear exactly what's being offered.
Well, it's nothing new exactly. It's just something that never gets old. It's practice, practice, practice. And when we say practice, we mean positive practice. Because like you said, we're sowing and reaping something.
Every day.
Every day. So either we're practicing the absence of God or we're practicing the presence. The practice of the absence of God is always, well, I don't have enough. This is not going to work. I'm worried about this. I regret this. I resent them. I hope they fail. Oh, I'm going to fail. All of it's a practice of the absence of God. To go from human consciousness to God consciousness, then we have to go from practicing the absence to practicing the presence of God. I'm surrounded by love. I see friends, not enemies. Now, some of this may sound naive, but if you actually practice seeing people's souls as opposed to what's on the surface,
right,
then you will see friends, and friends will come forth. If all you see is they're out to get me, well then, you'll manifest people coming to get you. But if you become a human being, in God's image, not the animal image, I guess you could say, and start practicing the presence of God, then you will actually start drawing the good and see the good because you're shining forth the good. But it all takes about what are you practicing today? What are you practicing when you get up in the morning? Are you going to practice, here we go, another dreadful day? I mean, right there, you're setting your day up to be bad and say there's no God here. You got to wake up and practice the presence. Yes, this is going to be a God-filled day. This is a God-filled day. And everyone I meet is God in manifestation.
Beautiful. Thank you. Dr. David Carter, what's your takeaway from today?
On page 4, I love the Bible passage where it says, I am the Lord. I create good. I create evil. I form the light, create the darkness. I bring prosperity, and I create disaster. I, the Lord, do all these things. What was so eye-opening for me is that the Lord is whatever's sovereign over my life, and whatever's sovereign over my life is what I hold in thought. Those things that I think about, I create from that space. The things I think about, I send into my subconscious, and then the subconscious creates it, whether it's good or bad, light or darkness, poverty, or prosperity, because that's what's sovereign in my life. That's what my Lord is, whatever I'm thinking about the most. So I really like that because they explain that passage and help me understand that the passage is my story. It's not some God up in the sky saying, I create light and darkness, or evil and good. It's talking about me, the person, every individual. I have the power to create light or darkness.
Beautiful. All right, let's come over and, or Amy, come on up here, a little bit closer to the mic, and appreciate it. Share us what your takeaway is.
A lot. I wish I was going to be here for this now, and I may have to...
change your vacation plans.
No, I ain't going to do that. Y'all just have to come down. But one thing I really like what you said. If we believe the spiritual thought power is an actual current of energy, and it is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And as real as an electric current, that's the most tremendous force in the universe. That's something that I can, think on. And I mean, that's because it is true. So this is just good to see it in black and white. I like our way of praying, but I also feel like people that beseech God and say, everybody pray for me, pray. And I still think they get, there are, good effects that come out of that because it all boils down to faith.
Right.
And then I was also thinking how Donald Trump, this is like his story right here. It's like you believe things can happen. It's good. It's a positive message instead of,
Yeah.
oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. This is good. Sorry, I had to throw that in.
That's
But anyway,
good. No, he has demonstrated that. Yes.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Prosperity and just like, them saying, well, no, there won't be manufacturing jobs coming back. Well, they did, and it's cause and effect. And what you do, there's going to be an effect.
Right.
Each action has a reaction.
Right.
So
Good or bad,
that's-
there's going to be cause or effect.
so,
Great.
Yeah, this is good. Good. Very good.
Excellent. And what's your takeaway?
Okay, two things. First of all, I'm going to claim that word allow. And
Good
I'm
one.
going to allow the divine power to raise up into my meditation. So, hey, God, let's do this together with your help. The other one is on the healing. He made a point that healing is not curing something. Healing to me is bringing you to the place of wholeness, which you said, where your thoughts and your actions are balanced and connected, I want to say. And that produces love, and that's what we want in the world. So, today, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. Are there comments coming to our live streaming community?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, Hashi said, who thought about religion references or financial differences? He will never be a good leader or a good teacher. Thank you so much. I got a beautiful teacher.
Oh, thank you.
There was another comment.
Anything else? All right. Well, I appreciate the comments that you share. Thank you so much. It's great to have people joining us from all around the world and across the United States for these classes. Know that you are welcome, and we appreciate your comments, your input in each class session. Thank you so much. Now, we look forward to you joining us again next Thursday at 10 a.m. for this class from Emerson Institute. We want to continue growing in our understanding of the basic principles of the science of mind, of our consciousness, of our thinking. It's applicable for any and all religions. It's not one pathway. It is the pathway that is open for everyone. It's just ancient wisdom for us. So we encourage you to join us in that. And if you've enjoyed today's class experience, I invite you to make a contribution. Go to www.cityoflightatlanta.com and you'll find a donate button. Share a contribution in gratitude and expression of appreciation for the classes and the wisdom that you're receiving. We greatly appreciate it. We know that you're going to be blessed as you do so. Thank you for your faithfulness and thank you for your support. We can't say how much we appreciate it enough. Look forward to seeing you next week. God bless you. And if you can join us Sunday morning at 11 a.m. for our celebration service here at City of Light. In the meantime, we look forward to connecting with you again. God bless you and have a great day.